So today's discussion is going to give you important insights into crafting that wonderful grant or loan application as you search for additional capital for your business. Now, I wish I had a crystal ball. I'm sure we all do. Obviously, these tips and tricks cannot guarantee that you're going to, get the capital that you go out for, but what it can do is really increase your toolbox of tips, tricks, and tools that you can use to make a really, really strong grant or loan application. So we have two wonderful speakers that are going to be guiding us through today. So I'm going to jump in to introducing our first speaker, Lindsay Chung. So Lindsay is a program manager at Axion Opportunity Fund, and she has more than 12 years of experience in the accounting and finance industry. Lindsay has worked with hundreds of small business owners across more than 20 different industries. From startups to established businesses, she's helped businesses understand their credit and ways to improve it along the way, with advising them on how to manage their cash flow, analyze financials, and improve their bookkeeping practices. Lindsay first realized her passion for economic empowerment while proudly serving as a Peace Corps volunteer in Botswana. She has a bachelor's of science in business administration, accounting, and finance from the University of Colorado and currently lives in Denver. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, thanks for having me today.
Yes, great to have you. And next we have Jeanette Flores-Katz. Jeanette was born and raised in El Salvador. Through Kosher Guacamole Corp, Jeanette, with her husband, uses high quality ingredients and shares Salvadorian food and culture to Atlanta. Jeanette personifies entrepreneurship and is dedicated to the self-development and the mentorship of women in Atlanta. Welcome, Jeanette.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. All right. So we are going to go ahead and jump into this conversation. And I'd love to start with you, Lindsay. What types of capital are available for small businesses, and how can owners decide which ones are right for them?
That's a great question, Brittany. I think that it's more confusing and frustrating than it ever has been trying to look for capital. There's been a lot of changes in the capital landscape. And so we've created this graphic to really help lay out what types of capital are available at different stages of the business. It also shows the pros and cons of each of these. Many small businesses in their starting phase will end up relying on friends and family or their own personal savings because it can be very difficult to find startup funding for a small business. I've seen a lot of small business owners use their personal savings or get out a home equity line of credit to get their business started. One thing that I've noticed is that some small business owners use credit cards to get their business started. And if it's at all possible, I would encourage you to try to avoid this vehicle. Many small businesses may use that to get started, and then when it's really time for them to grow, they get their first purchase order, they may have maxed out their credit cards and may not have much credit available to them. So it's a good practice to try not to rely on credit cards when starting your business. Some small business owners work with investors, typically if their business is pretty capital intensive and they have the ability to scale their business really quickly. A good idea for a small business is to try to keep your day job while you start your business. This will not only help provide cash flow to the business, but it'll also help get you a loan. Many small business owners, when you're applying for a startup loan, will want to have a better understanding about how you'll cover personal expenses. So that can be a great way in trying to fund your business in the beginning stages. Something that's become increasingly popular is using crowdfunding to fund your business. This will help show your proof of concept. It'll show that there's demand for your product, which can be helpful, especially when you're going to be looking for investors in the future. But this could also raise awareness about your product and create new customers. There's ways to do this by exchanging your goods for the funding, or there's ways to raise debt or equity through this vehicle. As the business grows, there will be more and more capital available to them. I'm sure if you registered your business, you've heard from some of these alternative institutional lenders. They often offer quick and easy cash, but this really comes at a cost. And so make sure that you're asking the right questions to really understand what the true cost of capital is. What I've seen is sometimes they can be really tricky about how they offer the pricing. So they may say it's a 5% loan, but what they fail to mention is that that's on a weekly or monthly basis, which ends up being a really high interest rate. Another thing that many of these lenders tend to do is bank on their ability to collect and not your ability to pay. So they don't do a cash flow analysis to make sure that it's an affordable loan for you. And they take out the payments on a daily or weekly basis. Sometimes this can really hurt the cash flow of the business because you're paying the lender before you pay your employees or before you buy inventory. So some small businesses end up getting another loan to pay on this one and then another loan, and it really strangles the cash flow. So we are co-signers on the Small Business Borrowers Bill of Rights to really push these type of institutions to be honest, transparent, responsible about their lending practices. A really good alternative is CDFIs or community lenders. Axion Opportunity Fund is a CDFI, which means we're certified by the Department of Treasury, and we're a community development financial institution. There's many great CDFIs and credit unions and micro lenders across the country that are really focused on helping underserved communities get access to financing. So they tend to have lower interest rates, longer terms, and tend to have a lot more flexible underwriting guidelines than what you would see at a bank. More traditional banks are a really great option for more established businesses. They tend to offer lines of credit and term loans. They're generally looking for those larger loans and more established businesses, but that can be a great option if you're in that place.
Unmute. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And then also just kind of how each one goes along with each stage of the business. So your access to different types of capital will change as your business grows. And Lindsay mentioned a bunch of great kind of resources and things to know. So I'll be dropping those in the chat if you want to take a look at them. And Jeanette, I would love to kick it to you and just hear from you. What types of grants are available for small businesses, and how can owners decide which ones are right for them?
Thank you, Brittany. So definitely never have been so much money up there before, big corporations have, decide to share a little bit of their profit probably, or, it's tax deductible anyway. So don't feel bad when they actually, giving you some money for it. And there is a lot different, just like lending money into a bank, and also go for this type of grants is different stages of your business. If you're starting up is one. So it's pretty much the same like any business plan. You have to have a business plan. You have to know what you're doing, where you're going, how you're going to do it, because they want to support you, but they want to make sure that you're going to be successful. And if you're not ready, definitely you're not going to get it. And sometimes also you don't know what are they looking for. So it's like a shot in the dark sometimes. I got this particular one I remember because I remember it was terrible. The interview was horrible. I was like, there is no way they're going to give me that grant. I couldn't even talk properly the way that, that I thought it should be. And in reality, they were looking for somebody like me that I didn't have my shit together. And to talk about my business. So because that program it came with a program how to pitch your business, how to talk about your business. So, you don't know what they're looking for. So there is no formula, because they are the ones who say, okay, in this group, we're gonna help the ones that need, learn about numbers. So if you don't have your numbers well done, they will pick you, right? This person needs to talk better about their business. So the only way that I can say it is like, just don't give up and keep applying, because I did it 3 times for the Fearless Fund. I did it 3 times, and I was like, I don't know what they're looking for. So, and that was the one that they were looking for, somebody to coach how to speak about your business and how to spit it out, that, the elevator pitch and all that. So there is not a formula, and because you don't know what they're looking for, you need to know yourself and your business very well, so you can actually write it down exactly the way they want. I have a folder with 100 words, 200 words, 500 words. I have up to 1,000 words. So then you just cut and paste according to what they're asking you for. And, read very careful what they're looking for, what they're asking. So you are, exactly, you giving the answer of what they want. And don't be afraid of dream of what you think you want to be, because they are looking for people who really want to grow their business. So don't think like, no, they're not gonna, you don't know, so just put it up there, and they want to see you successful. So don't think that they just want to hand the money to anybody. They want to make sure that you're actually going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you spoke about, there's grants that we think about traditionally, which are just, I'm applying for the money, I'm getting the money, and I'm doing what I need to do. But there are also grants that have these built-in educational components that are going to help you grow in skills and abilities, maybe network. And so when you're looking at different kinds of grant opportunities, you want to take that into consideration. And I feel like that 100, 200, 500 word, that's gold. So having that and you're ready to go is so key. I love that. And Lindsay, I'd love to kick it to you and see if you had anything to add about what kind of grants are available and how business owners can decide what's right.
Yeah, I think Jeanette did a great job talking about the different stages that the business is in, and the different grants that are available at that stage. I have seen there's the typical grant where you put in an application, maybe scored or random. And those are kind of the most popular ones that are available. I know at Axion Opportunity Fund, we do Fast Break for Small Business in the fall that typically offers that type of loan or that type of grant. And then there's also Hello Alice offers some really great grants on a regular basis, and you can subscribe to their newsletter and get updated grants all the time. But those ones that are attached to an educational program tend to be a little less competitive than those more typical ones. And then you also get the benefit of learning, how to improve your business, or you get coaching and you get to join a nice community or cohort with like-minded small business owners. So there's huge benefits to focusing maybe on those type of programs. And we actually just launched today our FedEx program, which is great for shelf-stable businesses that are looking to grow their e-commerce platform. You get coaching, you get to join this cohort, and you get some additional grant money with it. So great opportunities like that available. And then there's also a lot of opportunities through the government, especially through the pandemic. There was a lot of opportunities, but different groups in the government have opportunities like the SBA or the USDA. And check with your local or state governments to see what type of opportunities that they have for small businesses, because these type of opportunities continue to increase.
Yes, love that. Love looking at the different levels. Like, yeah, look at your state and look at those educational programs. Lindsay, thank you for mentioning the FedEx e-commerce learning lab. As Lindsay mentioned, that opened today, and I dropped the program page and the application in the chat. Okay, so Jeanette, I'd love to kick it to you. So when you talked a lot about doing different grant applications, and I would love to know, what should small business owners include in their grant applications to make them more compelling and well structured?
Just tell your story. There is nothing more compelling is your story, because nobody else has it. Nobody is like you. And, create the scenario of how your business will be with that grant. What would you do with that? The more details you give them, the more they're going to see your dream, or, how you're going to use the money. And it is a pain to write grants. Is a job with itself. However, though, the way that I think about these grants nowadays, not just the part of the money that you get to know your business more, because the more you write about what your business is like, or it will be, the more you start actually seeing more clear and picture the stage of your business. So I think in the beginning, yes, I did it more like because I really needed the money. I needed to survive. And until now, we got out of the survival mode and start more like, okay, it's time for us to go back of growing. But every time, we wrote an application, the question, and also take all those questions and put it in a folder as well, because then you go back, it's going to be like a diary for you. And then you go back and see, what do you actually do with that? Do you really, accomplish what you thought, you were going to be doing? Or any idea that you left behind and now you can actually put it in practice? So all the things are more like creating a map for your business. So it's not just the money, which is great, but you learn more and more about your own business.
Yes, I love that. And I love that you put your answers in a folder, because I feel like grants can be kind of similar, maybe not the same exact question, but you're kind of building yourself like a little toolkit, so you don't feel like you got to start from scratch every time you're applying. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, Lindsay, when we look back at loans, what are lenders looking for when they are evaluating your application?
Yeah, so lenders are looking for what we call the 5 C's of capital typically. As you can see on this slide, it's character, capacity, capital, collateral, and conditions. So as far as character goes, this is kind of how they measure your reliability. So with this, they'll typically look at your credit, and many small business owners are surprised to learn that a lot of lenders are looking at their personal credit when looking at a small business loan. So your first step is really to make sure that you build that up, and so that you're in a good position when it comes to talking with a lender. Another thing that's good is to start building your business credit. So make sure that you have a business credit card, and when you're talking to different lenders or vendors, try to make sure that they are reporting on your business credit. There's a number of different bureaus, but Duns & Bradstreet is the most well-known one, and you have to apply for a DUNS number in order to have people report on it. So try to start doing that. Having business credit will not only help you get a small business loan in the future or a line of credit with your supplier, but it could change your insurance rates, or I've heard of some retailers even looking at business credit before bringing somebody into their store. So it can really help to focus on your credit. If you have problems with your credit in the past, we all know the pandemic was really difficult on everybody, but especially entrepreneurs, then you can go to Trust Plus, and they offer free 30-minute counseling, and we'll try to put that in the chat at some point here, so you can really start building up that credit. Another really important component is capacity. So this measures your ability to pay. Lenders will typically do this by calculating your debt service coverage ratio. And this ratio just looks at the amount of net income you have compared to the amount of debt payments you have and that you will have with this additional debt. And so they just want to make sure that you have enough net income to cover all your expenses or all your debt, your current debt and your future debt. And then they want to make sure there's a little cushion there. So if you have a bad month, that won't mean that you'll default on the payment. So for newer businesses, typically how they'll look at capacity is they'll look at your financial projections. And so make sure that these are really accurate and that you can stand behind your numbers, tell exactly how you calculated it and how that compares to similar businesses in your industry and in your area. And that will really build their confidence. As I mentioned earlier, it's also helpful to keep your day job because they'll also want to see that you have a way to cover those personal expenses, especially in that first year where the business may not be making any income and maybe operating at a loss. The next one is capital. So this measures your commitment. They just want to see that you have skin in the game. So this is similar to like a down payment on a house. They want to make sure that if the business goes sour, that you're not going to just walk away from it right away, that you have that skin and that investment to make sure that your business succeeds also. Collateral measures what you own. Oftentimes it's looking at having you pledge some sort of asset in your business or something that you own, and the lender will have the right to take that away if you default on the loan. So that helps make the lender feel more secure, and some lenders require that the whole loan's collateralized, and organizations like Axion Opportunity Fund doesn't even use collateral when we're evaluating it. So then we also have conditions, and this could be internal conditions. So this could have to do with your experience in the field, how well you know your business and your industry. It could have to do with the use of funds. Are you going to use the funds to buy something that will automatically bring in revenue like inventory or something of that sort? Or are you refinancing debt? Lenders are a little more hesitant to do things like refinance debt. And so that may change their decision based on what you're going to use the funds for. And then there's external factors like the economy and interest rates and industry trends and things of that sort. So they'll use all 5 of these C's when really evaluating the decision on whether they'll give you the loan and then what the terms of the loan will be.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I think that visual is so helpful. And I think it's really nice also to hear that depending on what kind of organization you're getting your capital from, they may consider or may not consider different things like the collateral, like you mentioned. Okay, so Jeanette, I'd love to chat with you again. So besides accessing capital, what are some of the educational or what are some of the benefits of some of the educational grant programs you've been a part of?
So, like I was saying, for the Fearless Fund, that I thought I was totally bad in actuality, it helps me because they give me the grant, and also I have been in a program for a year that we meet once a month, and we try to talk about our business and how we can help each other. Again, have that network of other entrepreneurs, they are in the same situation and have other ideas, other people apporting ideas in different situations helps you a lot. So it is a commitment for sure. And also the same way they say, Lindsay, they're less competitive because not too many people want to commit practically to have a class once a week or once a month. Is still a commitment, but also it teaches you to start working on your business and instead in your business. That we do in the beginning very bad. We don't want to detach. You want to have hands in everything. And if you don't start detaching that part, and I said, letting your child go and let it start walking, leave your team alone and see if they can do it. Sometimes they can do it better without you there. So, and at the same time, you're learning what your next step in your business is, and also the ideas. I just went to a very small cohort in town, and I thought I will do it because of more of the networking, right? And I come up with an idea when we were saying, okay, we make pupusas, and I cannot go from selling right now at the restaurant and markets to go to supermarkets. The jump is the step is way too high. So I have to be somewhere in the middle, right? So in this cohort, I learned that I can do a subscription to start with. So you never know what you're gonna learn. And because at least my industry is changing a lot because of the pandemic. Right now, everybody is all over the place trying to figure it out what the new norm is. So we come up with that idea, and without even knowing, I also got the grant that I didn't think that I would get it, because I was like, I don't think I'm in that position to get a grant. But because I wanted to expand that part, I need packaging, I need a new employee and all that. So if you come up with an idea and just say it, and you tell them, oh, what do you think about this? And they're gonna say, oh, that sounds good, put it in paper. You have to be able to put it in paper and show them step by step of what you're going to do, in order for you to get that gap between where you want to be and where you are, and have another step in between in order for you to get there.
Yes.
So it's very, very helpful.
I love that. I love that you brought up the networking, because one thing we hear all the time is how lonely it can be to be an entrepreneur. Like, you are grinding it out, you're trying to get it done, wearing all the hats, but you're kind of doing it alone. And so you bringing up like having a community who has done things differently than you and might have insight is so helpful. And I think it's underrated too. Like, it's great to have community. So I love that you shared that. And also, one other key point in here is just, Jeanette, I love how much you say you just have to go for it. Like, so many of us feel like we need to be overqualified or at our absolute finest. And I love how you were like, I'm just going to go for it, and look what it reaped. You were able to get, in part of those programs, but also gain so much more knowledge. So I so appreciate you sharing that. Okay, so another question for you, Jeanette. Why is it important for small business owners to clearly explain their business's unique value and competitive advantage in their applications, and how can they showcase these things?
So one of the things, as women and as women of color, also, we are like, we don't want to ask for help, right? We are like, I can do it myself. Just being a woman, sometimes it's like, oh no, I can handle this. But we have to remember that every business had help, whether it was a bank, family, friends, and we can do it the easy way, or we can do it the hard way too. And it's already hard for us, to be somehow naive that we can do it, alone. It takes a village, to make a village. You know what I mean? It's just for any business. It's very important that we are all together and trying to help each other as much as we can. And I just lost my thought because I forgot the question.
No worries. No worries. I totally understand. So why is it important for small business owners to clearly explain their unique value of their business?
Yeah, so the same way that you are unique as a person, you're unique as a restaurant, for saying, for me, right? I can give you my recipes, and you're still going to give your unique touch to those recipes. So you have to say it, who you are, why, where it come from, all the W's, why, how, when, and all that, and put your passion in it. For me, it had been very challenging being English my second language, and also not having my own culture already, because I got here when I was in my 20s. So you have already imprinted everything, so it's kind of hard, to change. The majority of people, say, Latinos, we're loud, we're, outspoken, and, things like that. But just be yourself, because it's nobody else is like you. And there is people that will like you. And, you're not going to be like, everybody's going to love you either. Is your customers are looking for you. So, and the better you present yourself, who you are, is more defined. You're gonna see more clear who your customer is. So it's much easier. They're gonna follow you because who you are, and not because you're selling, something. It's because how you sell it, how you actually give it to them, how you present it to them. Because there are many people doing the same thing, but they have their own unique way of presenting it and being. So just be yourself, and definitely that's what people is looking for. Clarity in who you are, clarity with your transparent with your product. Making sure you actually are true to your product, and don't back down in whatever you want to do. If somebody say like, oh well, I would like this cheaper, but the product is not going to be there, don't do it, because that is not you anymore.
Love that. I love how you mentioned that, your unique value it's within you. So that's, to me, really empowering. If you're approaching these grant applications, like having, like you said, clarity on who you are can really guide your answers and where you want to take your business and how you want to impact your community and your life. So I think it kind of simplifies things. Like, you are the unique value of your business. So I love that. And Lindsay, did you want to add anything here about why it's important for small business owners to talk about their unique value and their competitive advantage?
Yeah, I think it's really important when you're talking to a loan officer to come in and treat it similar to kind of a job interview. It's really important that you do your homework, you have questions ready for the lender, because they're not only interviewing you, but you're also interviewing them. But make sure that you come in, you've done your homework, you can easily talk about your value proposition. Why would people choose you? And knowing that you are well aware of what's available out there and what sets you apart from other people is really critical, because that helps that lender really understand how the business will be able to generate income, which will eventually help pay them back. Especially earlier stage businesses, it can be really difficult to get that financing. So really demonstrating that you have the expertise and understand your business in and out will really give that lender confidence to give you the funding so that you can build and grow your business.
That makes so much sense. And I love looking at it from the different perspectives of really know who you're speaking to. So how does your unique value position you as the best fit for a particular grant? But also, when you're looking at loans, how does your unique value, when you think about lenders, they want to know that you're secure enough to pay them back. Like, how does that ensure that they'll be able to get that? So it's the same question in two different ways. I really like that. Okay, so I see questions in the chat. If you're having questions, or things are coming up for you that you want to ask Jeanette and Lindsay, please drop them in the chat. We're going to be going into our live Q&A shortly here. But before we do that, we have one last question for each of you. And Lindsay, I'd love to start with you. So what common challenges do business owners face when applying for loans, and how can they overcome them and increase their chances of success?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the biggest challenge that I would see when I was a loan consultant is that not all small business owners know their numbers. And that's just so important when you're talking to a lender to be able to speak to that. So I've had a lot of people, when I ask them about their financials or their tax returns, they'll be like, I don't know, just go ask my bookkeeper, my accountant. And I really know that finances can be really intimidating, but it's an important thing for you to understand as a small business owner. It helps you prevent fraud for your business. It helps you make really important decisions when looking at your business. And it also can really help when you're talking to a lender. They want to make sure that you understand your business. It comes up on Shark Tank all the time. I feel like you always hear them talking about the importance of knowing your numbers. So it's important when it comes to your financials. It's also important with your credit score. You know, look up your credit score before you go to the lender. Know what's on your credit reports. Many lenders have minimum FICO scores. And if you apply with too many lenders, it'll bring down your credit score each time you apply with a different lender. And if you apply to too many lenders, lenders may just decline you because you have too many inquiries in your credit. So it's really good to know if you'll, you know, possibly have a chance at qualifying for that loan before going to apply for that loan. It'll save you money and frustration, and really help you find the right fit right off the bat. And so knowing those numbers can just be really important. Also, what you can afford when you're getting a loan. Some small business owners end up getting into these merchant cash advances because they don't understand their cash flow very well and what they're able to pay. So knowing what you feel comfortable in with a loan payment can be a really helpful tool. And then just knowing what you're going to use the funds for. When I was a loan officer, I would always get people, when I asked them, you know, how much do you want and what are you going to use the funds for? And I would get so many people being like, well, what's your maximum loan? And I'm going to use it just for working capital. And I strongly encourage you to really figure out how much you need. If you get too little, it may be difficult to get additional capital and you may not be able to complete the project and make that income. And if you get too much, then you're paying interest on funds that you don't need. So finding the right amount for your small business is really important, and being able to explain to the lender, you know, I'm going to use this money to get equipment and hire 2 employees, and this is going to increase my sales by X amount. Can be huge. And you could also have a backup plan. If the lender is like, sorry, that's not, you know, too large, you could say, well, if I just buy this equipment, then I'll be able to increase my sales by this much, and then I'll hire employees in the future. So kind of having that laid out and really being able to speak to your numbers could really improve your chances of getting a loan with a lender.
So many good pieces of advice in there. And yes, knowing your numbers is so important for all pieces. And if you are, you know, like, I don't know where to start, I'm going to drop a link in the chat where you can actually meet with a free business advisor, and they can help you kind of sort through this if you're struggling with that. So keep an eye out in the chat for that. And then Jeanette, I would love to hear from your perspective on grants. What common challenges do small business owners face when applying for them, and how can they overcome them to increase their chance of success?
Well, besides, you know, being yourself, which is being, you know, very true to yourself and your company and your product, it's not much difference than a loan. You know, you have to know your numbers. You have to know what are you going to do with that money, and, you know, by, you know, details, you know, like Lindsay said, okay, well, I just gonna invest it in my business. If you just say that, you're not gonna get anything, you know, because you have to say, well, I'm gonna buy this machine, you know, I'm gonna employ 2 more people, and, you know, and every penny, and you put how much it's gonna cost everything. So then they know for sure that you know what are you going to do with that money. So they're very hand in hand, you know, the loans and grants, because they want you to be successful. And if you don't know your numbers, you're not going to know what to do with the money that they give you. And then you're not going to grow, you're not going to scale. So the challenge in the beginning is to put all that in order. But once you had that, it's just, you know, matter of, you know, repeating the same thing until you start finding, okay, I cover all that with the grant that I got last, but now I have this new challenge, right? So now I need this other piece of equipment or these other 2 employees or marketing, if exactly, okay, you want to do it for marketing, okay, not just put marketing. You have to put, okay, I'm going to have a blast in social media that is going to last, 6 months and it's going to cost me this much. I have also a person who's going to do the contents. So how much you're going to pay that person. So you have to details everything. And pretty much if it was your own money, also anyway, you have to have those details. So it's a practice. In the beginning, I was like, oh my God, I have to write it down. But actually they pay me to write down my own business plan. You know what I mean? They pay me to do that. And unfortunately, nobody can do it for you. I know that there is grant writers up there, and I did use it the first time, and I didn't get it because your voice is not there. Your voice needs to be there. So the challenge is in reality is to be able to sit down, write it down, and be able to to express yourself. But that's the only way that you can do it. There is no shortcuts, unfortunately. There is no formula either.
Oh, I love though that you kind of changed your perspective and said they're literally paying me to do this. So that is like, that's such a cool like mentality to have. And also when you're being really specific about what you're going to do with the money, like you mentioned, you're taking that person who's making that decision on the journey. They are seeing exactly where you're going versus, marketing could mean anything. Like it could mean anything. And so you're literally taking them through step by step. And I really, really like that. I also just wanted to mention, because I feel like in both Lindsay and Jeanette's feedback about this question, there is like this underlying, you need to know your numbers and you need to be prepared. You also need to be prepared with your documents. So be really thorough when you're going through these applications. They're going to ask you for required documents. Take the time and submit them, because that is giving you a completely full application for someone to meet you there. And like that is really, really powerful when you look at the decision maker, because that's who they're going to start with, is like the people who have completed everything. So make sure you're putting yourself in the best space by giving them everything they asked for. And part of that is knowing your numbers and knowing what they need. Okay, wonderful. Thank you both so much for answering those questions. And we've got plenty of questions in the chat. So I'm going to start going through them. But if you're in the audience and you're thinking of some questions, please drop them in the chat. We'll get to as many as we can. So this question's for Jeanette. Did you edit your pitch each time you applied for the same grant?
Yes, I did. First of all, because it was every year, right? So you are in a different position every year. So no matter what, you have to edit it because you're not in the same position that you were, even 6 months ago. You can either be worse or you can be better, so you have to edit it, even if from week to week, because remember, your business is a moving thing, is alive. If it's not changing all the time, then it's not going well, because it's going to change. Either it's going to change going backwards or it's going to change going forward. So, and you can say I applied whatever, or I was like this, a year ago, and now I'm here at this position. So yeah, and don't be ashamed to say whatever. Just like I said, just be yourself. Whatever situation you are, just put it up there, because I think that's what my husband said, that I have no filters. If I'm in a pickle, I say it. I just cannot do this anymore. I don't know what I'm gonna end, and with this grant, it would be great that I can get to the next level, so don't be shy.
I love that. So good. Okay, this next question is for Lindsay. Is it difficult to obtain business credit? Any recommendations for like where to start with a business credit card?
Yeah, it can be a little difficult. Business credit is a little more difficult than personal credit. One, that you have to apply for a DUNS number for Duns and Bradstreet. But also not all lenders will report on it. It can cost them money to report on your business credit, so not all of them will. I recommend starting with your bank that you're banking with and seeing if you can get a credit card with them. If you can't get a regular credit card, see if they have a secured credit card as a potential option. A secured credit card is where you put money in the bank and you have to keep that money in the bank, and it'll generally be the same amount as what's available on your credit card. So they may give you a $500 limit. You have to keep that $500 in your account, and then you start building that credit history with that bank, and then they can, work on increasing the amount that's available to you and maybe moving you to an unsecured card in the future. Part of it is just talking with the lenders. We're kind of a credit builder organization. So typically small businesses that get loans with us, we will report on their business credit. And we also report on the personal credit as a commercial transaction, with the ultimate goal of trying to get you into more traditional capital in the future. So just make sure you're having those conversations with your vendors and seeing, what they're able to do as far as reporting on your your business credit.
Got it. Love it. Okay. So many questions in the chat. I'm like filtering through. This is kind of a question that encompasses a lot of folks had similar questions about this. So Lindsay, I'd love to start with you, and then Jeanette, I'll kick it to you. But it says, if you are denied a loan or a grant, is there a way to find out what is needed to improve your application? And how would you go about that? So Lindsay, I'd love to start with you.
Yeah, so it really depends on the organization. Oftentimes, lenders will have to send you an adverse action. This will just kind of have a general statement like you were declined related to credit or something of that sort. And oftentimes they don't want to dive much deeper into, why it didn't work out. And I've kind of seen the same with grant applications. Some organizations get a really large number of grant applications and they simply cannot provide feedback to all the grantees that kind of request that. It really doesn't hurt to ask your lender or the person that you applied for the grant just to see if they're able to do it, because it really just depends on the organization and their policies and procedures.
Love that. That's great. Thank you, Lindsay. And Jeanette, what about you?
Pretty much the same. The applicants are, I remember I did a 4-1 Driving Dreams. They were like 7,000. I was like, who's gonna see me? But I said, it's for practice. That had been always my thing. It's for practice for me to write. It's for practice for me to speak. Practice, practice, practice. So when you are in that position, so you don't get pretty much disappointment, right? But at the same time, just like in the Fearless Fund that I did it 3 years, right? They have an idea who they're looking for, right? That time that I thought I was totally bad, they were looking for people who were bad because they want to coach them to be better. So it depends, what they're looking for, and they're not going to tell you, what is they're looking for in reality. And I would like to have a little more time sometimes to just go in deep in and really analyze the questions. Why are they asking you, whatever question that it seems not, that it doesn't go with everything, it doesn't flow. The numbers are very important. If you know the numbers, again, just like a lender, they want to see you successful. They want to see that, that you want to, that you scale. So if you don't have any idea what are you doing in your business, or you cannot put it even in paper, that is the majority of things that they're gonna see. That you don't have a clear idea, and the more you apply, you're gonna have a better idea eventually. Where you want to go, how to express it. So it is. Again, it's no formula for it, and there is not. I can tell you exactly how probably the question I will put it on, but maybe it's not you, so it's not your voice in there. So just put yourself up there, and it will come. It will come.
Yes, love that. I love just having the perspective of you have to ask, of course, if you get denied, you want to ask, you want to find out, but also, review what you said and make sure it's really infused with you. I really like that. Okay, this question is not surprising at all. Looking for grants can be extremely overwhelming. Where do you have any suggestions on where to start or where people can go to find grants? And Lindsay, I'll start with you and then I'll kick it to Jeanette.
Yeah, grants can definitely be overwhelming. We have quite a few resources on our page that talks about different grants that are available for women or minorities or things of that sort. We have tons of articles, and it will give you links to different sites that offer a number of different grants. As I mentioned earlier, Hello Alice is a really good resource for grants, and we also offer grants throughout the year. So following us on social media or getting on our email list could really help keep you informed on what we're offering for small business owners.
Definitely Hello Alice have been a great help for me. I had a lot of there, and also start local and see what the local companies are doing, see what your local government is doing as well. The city of Atlanta has a lot of programs, and also federal programs, they're available as well. With the government, they're a little more precise about the numbers. So they really numbers, they want to know, what you are and where you want to be, or where will you be in 5 years or after you get the grant. So be prepared with your numbers. There is a book that is called Managing by the Numbers, and that will help a lot. It's super dry, but it definitely give you a lot to do. And also Google it. Just Google. And there is also YouTube University. That is very, very good. And the new AI also help you. Mostly for me, that sometimes I don't know how to express certain things. The new AI, I have been playing around with it, and it's going to help me a lot in that way. So that's another thing to put in your plate if you don't have enough.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And Jeanette, you know what? I love that we're going to get it for real from you. You're like, the book is dry, but it's good. So check it out. I love that. There are so many great questions, and I've dropped a lot of links in the chat throughout. We could go on for a whole nother hour. I know grants and loans can be extremely overwhelming, but I really commend all of you for attending and and I hope you found more clarity on what it takes to really strengthen your grant or loan applications. I really want to thank Lindsay and Jeanette for being our experts today, and we so appreciate them for coming and sharing so many great details. And we will see you all next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.